Hello there, welcome to my channel, where I share things about my motorcycling hobbies. Today, we're going to be fixing a very specific problem in a pretty unconventional way, so stay tuned! Here we have a 97 Honda CBR 600F3. Problem is that the starter boss on both engine blocks and starter cover are cracked. This is where the starter idler reduction gear shaft goes on both sides. The starter cannot spin or crank without the gear. This can definitely be considered a catastrophic failure, since the correct way to fix this problem is either by completely replacing the engine block or by welding the missing section. However, after some research, I decided to go a different route. I'm going to create a removable shaft that will hold the original gear shaft. Here I have a brand new starter cover. Notice, there are two diameters in the hole where the idler gear shaft goes through. We're going to use the little hole to support the shaft we'll be making. The hole is actually tapered and wasn't straight. Here's an exaggerated drawing of the taper so you have an idea of what we're working with. What we're going to do is straighten it out by drilling through, which will make the shaft easier to work on later. I actually wouldn't recommend using the drill without guides, unless you can guarantee you can do it perfectly straight, because if the new hole is skewered, then the shaft will be too. I made my guide by using two plates that I secured with bolts, and also used a device called a portable drill press, which I bought from Amazon. Then I placed the base of the drill press onto the two plates so I could drill straight. After securing the plates to the starter cover, I used the existing idler gear shaft and a drill bit to centre the chuck of the drill press. You want to make sure to use a drill bit that fits snug into the diameter of the gear shaft. The drill bit I used was 1132. This is what it looked like, just in case you needed to know. I used the drill bit to centre the press, and looking at it closer, you'll notice it goes through well. And now the next step is to find the right bit to drill the hole. By using a smaller part, I measured the depth of the starter cover hole so I knew where not to drill past. You don't want to drill through it. After drilling, we can see that it's all straight and centered. I'm even going to make sure that I didn't cause any extra damage by inserting the shaft. You could even use the back of the drill bit to see if it worked. Very snug, minimal play, barely moves. You can see it's centered and nothing is hitting the edge. Next is the engine block side. Here's the engine block, and you can see where the damage is. Now we need to measure this hole and find a bit size that'll drill straight. Just like the starter cover hole, this one is also tapered. So we're just going to use the mouth of the hole to measure for the bit we need. The bit I'll be using is a 1764. And now we will use the device we made for the starter cover drill to drill straight. I mounted the same plate and used bolts I got from Home Depot. Size M6 1.0 times 20mm. I didn't use the original bolts because I was afraid they'd get damaged and that would just cause more problems. The bolts I used are short enough, so they won't go through the block or bottom out, and they are the perfect length to hold the plates. Now, we can mount the drill press to the plates. Here, we can't use the gear shaft to centre the drill, so we'll have to use the 1764 bit to centre the press. Now that it's mounted, we really want to make sure it's centered by sliding the chuck back and forth to see if it catches or hits anything. Before we drill, let's put a shop towel down or anything to protect the oil passages. You don't want the shavings to get into the crankcase. Now that the drilling is done, we can now unmount the press and see if we drilled straight. Once we're good, we can now take measurements so we can build the extra shaft. After taking the measurements, here is what we have. The diameter of the drilled starter cover hole is 0.337 inches. The inner diameter of the gear shaft is 0.278 inches. The diameter of the drilled engine block hole is 0.261 inches. We also measured the lengths. This is the depth of the hole in the SATA cover. This is the length of the gear shaft. And this is the depth of the hole we drilled into the engine block. So again, this is the SATA cover side, and this is the engine block side. Now we need to make a prototype shaft to see if it works. I had my friends 3D print me a couple of prototype shafts, and now we'll see if they measure correctly. I'm using a caliper to measure. The block side is 0.260 inches. It's supposed to be 0.261 inches, but that's okay. We can expect a little deviation. The middle one is supposed to be 0.278 inches, but we're getting 0.277 inches. Lastly, the starter side should be 0.337 inches, and we are getting 0.336 inches. They're about a mil or a 1,000th of an inch smaller. So here we are looking at the block. This is the 3D printed shaft, and this is the idler gear shaft. So let's try to fit it. You can see it's going in with very little movement, and this is supposed to go in the hole we drilled. Looks like it's a good fit. Very snug. Now that we know it fits the block, we're going to measure the starter cover. Here's the starter cover. We'll measure the bottom shaft. It fits with minimal resistance. And now I'll insert the idle gear shaft. Looks like it goes in all the way. Now, let's try to install it onto the block to make sure that both sides line up properly. Nice! They line up with very minimal resistance. Now, I'll have another friend fabricate the prototype shaft into metal. Now that we have an actual metal shaft based on a 3D model, we can see if it fits. This is the SATA, and it looks like this fits. Let's insert the original shaft, and it slides into place with no problem. Now let's see if it fits the block. It does! Now let's put them together. Nice. Now that we all know it fits, let's put everything back together. Thanks for watching. Give us a like and a subscribe to let us know if this was helpful, or if you want to see more content like this. Be safe out there and happy riding. Hope to see you soon.